Yo, this is XX here, and welcome to what is kind of part 2 to the video I put out yesterday. For those who are unaware, basically yesterday I put out a video talking about the whole controversy with Persona 3 Portable. You don't really need to watch that in order to understand this. If you want to just watch this, then you're by no means you're by no means obligated to go and fucking watch that video. It's not really important, but it does kind of relate to that, considering that whole controversy has kind of pushed me over the edge into thinking we need a remake even more now, considering the split in the Persona 3 fanbase is just so ridiculous. So I don't know, if you want to know my opinion on the toxicity in the Persona 3 fanbase, go and watch that video. But if you don't really care about that, then be sure to stay here. So yeah. Today I'm going to be talking about the recent rumors about a Persona 3 remake. Now, the rumors about a Persona 3 remake have been going on for, I think literally years at this point. People have wanted a Persona 3 remake for a long time, and rightfully so. Persona 3 is the one Persona game that doesn't have a definitive edition, because, Persona 1 has the PSP version. I mean, a lot of people don't really like the soundtrack of that, but I think most people agree that gameplay-wise it is much fucking better. And real talk, even at that, you can just kind of patch the fucking original soundtrack on emulators, so there's that. The Persona 2 games also have the PSP versions. Persona 4 has Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 5 has Persona 5 Royal, where Persona 3 has always been kind of caught between FES and Portable. Now, the way I've always seen it is people who prefer prioritize presentation and story much prefer FES, and people like myself who much prefer to have good gameplay than good story presentation prefer Portable. I think that's just how it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you like FES more, I 100% get it. FES is a fucking amazing game. It might actually be my favorite PS2 game. The game is fucking incredible. I just prefer Portable for several different reasons. But regardless, even as somebody who prefers Portable, I 100% see that FES still has several things the Portable doesn't, and that's why I think we need a remake, because there just straight up is not a definitive version. Both of these versions have things that the other one doesn't. So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the first bit is going to be me talking about the likelihood, the rumors, all that bullshit, and the second half is going to be me talking about what I would like to see in a Persona 3 remake. So let's start off with the actual rumor itself. So this rumor started, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, where basically somebody put, I forget what site it was on, but somebody said there's going to be a Persona 3 remake, like a full-on ground-up remake of Persona 3. And this person was already a credible source. I believe this is the same person that leaked that Persona 5 was going to be coming to Xbox Game Pass. So, that ended up happening, and now people trust this person. And yeah, this leak came out a while ago, and then once the P3P ports kind of were released, people were kind of like, okay, maybe it's not happening. But then recently, within the past couple weeks, this person came out again. I think it was Resetter. I think that was the site this was on. And doubled down. They said, no, this remake is absolutely still happening. And, when I first heard this, I was kind of skeptical. I was like, okay, but why would they do the P3P port, if they're planning to remake the game? That didn't really make any sense to me, so I was definitely skeptical of this. But then they actually doubled down and said that Atlus just wanted to have all of the modern Persona trilogy out at the same time, kind of to put people over until the Persona 3 remake happens. And then after he said that, he also basically just said, oh, it's Atlus. You know what I mean? And to be honest, they kind of have a point. When they said, oh, it's just Atlus being Atlus, and also the thing about P3P. Okay, well, the thing about wanting to have all the modern Persona trilogy out on the consoles didn't really make as much sense. But the thing about Atlus just being Atlus, after they said that, I kind of started to understand, because, look, Atlus is not the smartest company from a business decision. They're nowhere near on, an EA level where, they make bad business decisions and they make bad games. Atlus just make bad business decisions, but they usually come out with pretty good games. Look, here's just a list of the dumb shit Atlus has done, which would really lead me to believe that this is a possibility. The whole Persona 5 Royal PS5 bullshit, where if you own the PS4 version, you got absolutely nothing for the PS5 version. Now look, I'm not saying people who own the PS4 version get the PS5 version for free. That's fucking ridiculous. But what I think they could have at least done something, I don't know, that save data carryover, or, maybe do what the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection did, where if you own the PS4 version, you can get the PS5 version for $10 or something. How the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection had 2 games in it, and you could get the upgrade for $10 even if you only had one of them. That's really cool. Atlus, why didn't you do something like that? Like, I don't know, they could have definitely done something there. Another one was putting Persona 5 Strikers on Switch and Steam before the first game. Like, I understand that, you know, they wanted to test the waters with other platforms outside of PlayStation, but putting a sequel to a game on a console that does not have the original is not my way. It would not be my way of testing that. Just saying. Another one is releasing Persona Q2 on the 3DS in 2019. Like, how the fuck did they think that was a good idea? Or wait, was it 2019 or 2018? Regardless, like, a good bit after the Switch was already out. So, like, I don't know what they were thinking about that. Like, of course that shit wasn't going to work. The way they announced the P5R ports was fucking stupid. Like, they announced it initially just for Xbox, and then it got announced in a press release that it was coming to PlayStation and Steam, and then they waited like a week to announce it for Switch. Like, what the fuck? Why not just announce it all at once? Like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Like, okay, it's pretty clear that Xbox had an advertising deal for the game. Like, that is, you know, it's clear there was contract signed there where Xbox had the main advertising, kind of like PlayStation did with COD for many years, but, like, you know, but they still could have announced it all at the same time, or at least not waited to announce the Switch version so long after the PlayStation and Steam versions, but regardless. These next two are my fucking favorites. Strange Journey Redux's lack of an English dub. Like, for those who don't know, Strange Journey Redux in Japan, one of the biggest fucking selling points of the game was the fact that it had voice acting now, and then they put it out in, you know, the West, and they don't give it an English dub, effectively removing one of the biggest selling points. Like, really? That's like one of the dumbest business decisions they've ever made. But it's not as dumb as the final one I have down here, which is putting out Catherine Classic on Steam a month before Full Body's release. That really takes the cake for bullshit. What the fuck? Like, Full Body was only like a month away from releasing in Japan, and then they just shadow dropped the original version on Steam. Like, huh? What? What the fuck? That doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't fucking understand why they would do that. And honestly, that has me convinced more so that this P3P Persona 3 remake thing could be true, because that would essentially be the same thing. They put out P3P on all consoles just to announce a remake of the game that's inevitably going to overshadow it in like a few months afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, I feel like if they're willing to go that low, I feel like they're probably willing to go this low. Especially considering, like, that was even dumber because Full Body wasn't a full-on remake. It was just an enhanced re-release, where in this case, this would be a full-on remake of the game, which, you know, isn't as bad of a business decision to make, but it's still kind of stupid. Like, hopefully you guys get what I mean. So yeah, if that hasn't convinced you guys that this could possibly be real, I'm not saying it is real. I still have my doubts. But, you know, all I'm trying to point out with this is that it's not completely out of the question that this remake rumor could be real. And I think there was actually an update on this recently where, like, it was leaked that apparently Persona 6 and the P3 remake are a decent bit into development and are plans to be revealed this year. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, I buy that because it is very clear that the Persona 25th anniversary did not go the way they planned. Like, that is very, very clear. Like, the fact that the final announcement was release dates for games that were already announced, I don't know, man. Something doesn't add up there. Something went wrong with that. Something absolutely went wrong with those announcements. And and because of that, this sounds legit to me. Now, look, as I say, I still have my doubts, mostly because I'm a fucking pessimist, but you guys probably know that by this point. But yeah, that's basically the deal with the Persona 3 remake and why I think it could possibly be real. Obviously, if you guys have your own opinions, be sure to let me know in the comments. But now, let's move on to the more fun side of this video, let's be real. And that's me talking about what I would like to see in a P3 remake. Now, if you watched my last video, you'd know that I've said I've already recorded the audio for this video twice. This is the third time I'm doing it. And that's partially because I kept forgetting to add things. And also because, you know, all this fucking shit with the P3P port has happened. And, like, there's just been so many changes and shit. So yeah. And also another thing I do want to point out, I don't really believe this, but you could make the argument that the reason the P3P port was so half-assed was because they know a remake is coming. Like, I'm not going to make that argument myself. I don't think that's really the reason for it being the way it is. But, I mean, maybe. But regardless, I don't believe that personally. I just thought it was kind of funny. But, So let's just start with this wish list, I guess. So the first one up is to use Persona 5's engine. Now, the person who leaked it has said that it is using P5's engine, so if the leak is real, this one is actually happening, which is cool. I know a lot of people are kind of on the fence about using P5's engine, because a lot of people feel like, you know, P5 was way too easy. What if they make it too easy? Here's the thing. P5 being easy is not the engine's fault. That has nothing to do with the engine. That's entirely down to just the way the game is designed and the amount of things you can do to fucking exploit the game. So I still think using P5's engine... Guys, could you imagine what Persona 3 could look like in P5's engine? Like, come the fuck on. The next one, and this one's going to be very controversial, include both the FemC and the answer. Both of them. Now, look, I've been on record as saying that I don't fucking like the answer. I think the answer is awful. I think it's one of the worst fucking sequels ever written, and I think the gameplay is so badly designed that it just feels like, it's so fucking bad. But here's the thing. One, it's important to the story of Persona. Like, the arena games reference it quite a bit. And also, this is a remake, remember? So while the story is probably going to stay the same, you can only polish the turd so much, they could fix the gameplay up. If you guys want to know the problem with the gameplay of the answer, go and watch Nam's Compendium's video on it. He absolutely nails it. Like, he absolutely nails pretty much all my problems with the answer's gameplay. There's a lot of issues with it, but basically you could fix that in a remake. You could fix all the balancing issues. You could fix the XP bullshit. You could actually give us the fucking compendium. You could fucking, like, maybe not give the bosses evade skills that make it impossible to fucking hit them. Like, I don't know. I feel like, you know, you could very easily make the answer at least playable. And with the FemC, like, dude, people love the FemC way too much not to include her. Like, Atlas has put her in so much marketing recently. It would be a bad move not to put her in the game, so, you know. Next one is, and this one's also going to be slightly controversial, new animated cutscenes for both protagonists. So, obviously, the FemC actually didn't even have animated cutscenes, so you're going to have to make new ones for her anyway. And I feel like while you're at it, just remake the ones for the male protagonist, because, look, people, real talk, like, the Persona 3 anime cutscenes do not hold up as well as you think they do. Like, don't get me wrong, like, Persona 4s aren't great either, but, dude, P3s are fucking rough looking, man. Like, I don't like saying this, but it's true. The only actual anime cutscene in that game that I genuinely thought was really good, well, the two that I thought were really good, were the opening, like the one where Makoto is walking to the dorm and Yukari's like in her room with the gun in her hat. Like, dude, that scene is fucking amazing. And of course, Makoto's awakening scene. Those scenes are incredible. But, like, aside from those two, I think the rest of the cutscenes just look like shit. I'm sorry, I don't like how they look. The first Persona game to have genuinely good looking anime cutscenes, I think, was Persona 5. Like, even 4's look serviceable but not great, and then 3's just don't look good at all. And as I say, if they're going to include the FemC, they're going to have to do this. They're going to have to make new ones anyway, so, like, while you're at it, just fucking make better ones for Makoto. I'm sorry. I know some people aren't going to like that one, but I just had to throw that out there. The next one, include both party control and all of the tactics from FES. Here's the thing. If you're going to make the definitive version of Persona 3, you have to give people the option to play the way they want. If people want to play with party control, like in Portable, let them. If people want to play with the tactics system like in FES, let them. Just put both options in the game. This is not hard to do. Just include all the tactics and also maybe have them all unlocked from the start, because having to unlock the fucking knockdown tactic was the biggest load of bullshit I've ever seen in my life. Like, you don't unlock that until, like, you beat the second full moon boss. Like, really? But yeah, I think this one's a no-brainer. Like, this is one of the few ways you can genuinely make it like an actual definitive version, because this one pleases both audience. And the next one is also a comeback from FES. Bring back the ability to use all of the weapons as the protagonist. So, in the original Persona 3 and FES, you were able to use any weapon. That means the short swords, the long swords, the spears, the bows, the fucking boxing gloves, and the axes as both protagonists. As the protagonist. He was able to use any weapon. That was the thing about him. The only ones he couldn't use were the knives, which were exclusive to Koromaru, and the guns, which were exclusive to Aigis. Yeah, no, bring this back. I think the ability to customize the kind of damage, especially if Persona 3, since Persona 3 has the multiple kinds of physical damage, I think it pays to be able to change what kind of physical damage your protagonist can do. So, yeah. And when I say this, I mean, fuck it. Like, have the short swords and Naginatas be available for both. Don't just have the short sword for Makoto and the Naginata for Katone, and then just have all the other ones available. Like, straight up, let them both use both. I think that would be kind of cool to see. Hopefully that made sense. Next one up is fuck the tired system. Like, legit. The tired system felt so arbitrary in Portable. Like, it's still there, but it really has no reason to be. Because in Portable, the way you regain SP, rather than just going back down to the bottom floor, you have to pay to get it back. So that completely gets rid of the entire point of the tired system. The entire point of the tired system was to make it harder to finish an entire block of Tartarus in one day. That was the entire point. But then in Portable, they make you actually pay to refill your HP and SP, which, you know, gets rid of that problem. So why is the tired system even still here? You know, in Portable, it really felt like it didn't need to be there anymore. And kind of following on from that, make party members auto-revive after battle. This is another thing I don't understand why they kept. Like, in P3, unlike in P4, 5, and I think even 1 and 2, the party members stay dead after they die in battle. Just have them auto-revive with 1 HP like they do in 4 and 5. There's really no reason to keep this. Like, in Portable, that was the way they kept the tired system going, but if you're getting rid of the tired system, this also kind of needs to go. So those two kind of come together. I really see no reason to keep this. The next one's, you know, pretty important. Include XP share. Now, look, there's multiple different ways they could go about this. They could have it so that, you know, all the party members get full XP whether they're in the party or not. They could try and handle it the way P5 handles it, where it's tied to a social link, but personally I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't try to add benefits to social links that didn't already have them. I really just don't feel like Atlas can pull that off, so don't do that one. The way I think they should handle this is have it so that party members that are on your team get 100% of the XP, and party members that are not on your team get 50% of the XP. Or 50 or 75%. Just get a little bit less. Still get a decent bit, but less. That's basically my point. That's how I think they should handle it. Because let's be honest, like, not having XP share in the older Persona games just makes things more of a hassle if you need to switch up party members for a boss fight. And in P5, I think the way they handled it was absolutely perfect. And while they can't handle it quite how they did in P5, I feel like this is like having the unequipped party members get 50 or 75% of the XP. I think that works. So yeah, that's just kind of whatever. And the next one is make skill cards work the way they did in P4G. So in P3P, they added skill cards, but the way they work is basically whenever you level up a persona to a certain level, they give you a skill card, and that's pretty much it. There's no way to like save the skill cards so you can get them back later, like there is in P4G and P5 and P5. I personally think they should have them work the way they did in P4G, where so basically, in P3. In Persona 3 Portable, there's 2 different Velvet Pretendants. There's Elizabeth and there's Theodore. With Makoto, you get Elizabeth, and with Katone, you get the option between Elizabeth and Theodore. I think the way they should handle this is have the other one, so for Makoto, Theodore, and for Katone, whichever one you didn't choose, have them be the skill card person. Have them be the one that handles the skill cards. So, for instance, say as Katone, say you pick Elizabeth. Then Elizabeth would be the one that gives you the requests and the one that helps with the compendium. And Theodore would be the one who helps you with the skill cards. And if you chose Theodore, Elizabeth would be the one who did the skill cards and Theodore would do all the compendium shit. I think that makes a lot of sense. So you could go up to Theodore and, like, you know, register a skill card, buy skill cards back. I think I just like the way P4G handled skill cards a lot. I wouldn't have it work. I wouldn't have the shit that P5R had with U-Skill. Like, you could try and include some of that stuff, but I personally think have basically the other Velvet Pretendant function the way Marie did in P4G, and you're pretty much golden. Hey, that worked. But, whatever. Okay. This one should have been in the fucking re-release. This one should have been in the recent port. Manual skill inheritance. Why isn't this in the recent port? Why isn't this in it? This doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, fuck, they added it in Nocturne Remaster. Like, there's really no reason they couldn't have added this in the most recent port. So yeah, have manual skill inheritance. So, you know, whenever you're using a persona, you can choose what skills are inherited. And here's another one that's kind of tied to this. In Persona 3, your party members' skills get replaced automatically by the fucking... What the fuck? By the AI. I would get rid of this. I would let the player choose what skills the party members keep. So, for example, with Yukari, once she unlocks Garula, the game just immediately replaces Gari with Garula. I wouldn't handle it like this. And here's a good example as to why. With Junpei, early in the game, Junpei learns Repatra, which Repatra is actually a very useful move in P3. Because, if an enemy knocks somebody down and then hits them again to the point where they become dizzy, you can just use Repatra to get them back up if you need them to do something. That's really, really useful. But the problem is, Junpei loses that skill at some point. I don't remember when he loses it, but the game forces him to unlearn that skill, and some players might want to keep that. So yeah, they should have the players choose what skills their party members keep, much like in P4 and P5. I don't understand why they did it the way they did in Portable. In FAS, I understand why it works the way it does, because, the AI is going to be the one using the moves, but in P3P and in this theoretical remake, I don't really see a reason to keep that around, so just let players choose what skills the party members keep. Next one is, make the costumes work the way they did in P4G and P5R. Well, more specifically P4G. What I mean by this is, instead of having the costumes tied to specific pieces of armor, there is an exception to this. But I'll get to that in a second. Have the costumes just be aesthetic. Because in P3, if you want to equip a specific outfit to a character, you have to give them that piece of armor, which has its own stats, which, isn't the greatest in the world, because that means if you really want to use a specific outfit, you have to sort of sacrifice your defense stat for it. So, rather than that, just have them be aesthetic like they are in P4G and P5R. Now, the reason I say more so P4G is because I want you to be able to buy them from a shop like you do in P4G. In P4G, you can go to a shop and actually buy the costumes, where in P5R, it was all DLC. So, handle it the way P4G did, please, because that was just better. It was just better. And plus, with P4G, you unlocked certain outfits as the game went on. So, for instance, you unlocked the P uniforms, you unlocked the winter uniforms. I think you unlocked some of the casual clothes as well. Just have shit like, have like the casual clothes, the different kinds of uniforms, and like gym uniforms and all that stuff. Have that shit unlocked naturally, but have some of the more fun ones like the swimsuits and like cosplay shit. Like you could even add some of the costumes from Persona 4, from Persona 3 dancing if you wanted. Like the Halloween costumes, the cross-dressing costumes for the guys. Hell, you could even add the Persona 4 arena costumes for the characters that are in that game. You know what I mean? You could have those kind of ones be purchasable, but have winter uniform, summer uniform, winter casual, summer casual, P uniform, all that stuff just be, default. Just unlock that as a part of the story. I don't know. I think that would be kind of fun, because playing through P3P right now, it's kind of annoying that I can't just give them costumes, and you can even add costumes like, give them like Yasogami uniforms, give them Shujin uniforms, give them fucking St. Hermelin uniforms, Seven Sister uniforms that do the same thing that they do in fucking... What the fuck? Why can't I think? They do the same thing that they do in P5, where it changes the battle theme. You could even have the cross-dressing outfit for Makoto change the music to Wiping All Out. I think that would actually be a funny idea. So, I just think that's a much better way of handling costumes. So, yeah. And the one exception I would have to this is the high-cut armor. Keep the high-cut armor as actual armor. I think that's just really, really funny that, like, you give them the high-cut armor and they get all embarrassed because it's basically lingerie. Like, I think the high-cut armor is fucking hilarious. I think it's the funniest shit ever. So, yeah, keep that as armor. But everything else, have it work the same way it does in P4G. Here's another one. Make school social links available outside of school when the ranks make sense. So what I mean by this is, anybody who's played P3 knows that the summer vacation in P3 is the worst thing in the world. Like, it's awful. It's absolutely terrible because you can't do any of your school social links. Yeah, I would change this. Now, obviously, some of the ranks take place in school, So there is only a certain amount you could do with this. Actually, I just had another idea. Okay, you know what? I'm working this in. So, for example, with Chihiro, if you had her on a rank, like for instance, the rank where you go to the bookstore with her, if you had her ready to go on to that rank whenever you entered summer, you would still be able to do that rank. But once you got to a rank where she would have to be in school, you would be locked out of it until you went back to school. Like, hopefully that makes sense. Which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this would allow you to do, like, most of Yukari's social link. Like, I know she does have some ranks that take place in the school, but I think, like, most of Yukari's ranks take place outside of school. So, with her, it will be really, really useful. With some of the characters, it would be a really, really useful. And here's the other thing. Obviously, it's still pretty limiting because, you know, a lot of the ranks do take place in school. I mean, to be fair, with characters like Chihiro and fucking... With characters like Chihiro, Kaz, and I forget the dude's name, the dude who looks like he's 50, the student council guy, Hidetoshi, was that his name? And him, you could have them still be available during the summer, and you could just use the excuse that they used with Makoto in Persona 5, like, oh, I have the keys to the school, let's go in. You could just do that for them. Obviously, that's not going to work for everybody. It'll just work for clubs and shit, but, you know. You could do that for the characters where it makes sense. But then another thing is, I would have the summer school event, you know, like the part in the game where it basically just skips an entire week because they have to go to summer school. I don't know why they didn't do this. Just, you know, have summer school act like actual school. So, like, you know, once you're done with class, you just spawn in the school and you're able to do social links. And have that week be a week where you can do the school social links. That feels obvious to me. I don't know why they didn't do that. So... You know, hopefully all that made sense. I am not very good at making shit make sense, so hopefully that made sense to y'all. Next up is fuck the jealousy mechanic. Now, I've been playing through the meal route of Persona 3 recently. I have no idea whether or not the jealousy mechanic is still in the game. There are the signals for it are still there, like where let's say if she may get jealous if you try to hang out with another girl. But regardless, even if it wasn't in P3P, don't bring it back. This mechanic was so fucking bad, and it just limited the amount of social links you can do, so... Yeah, just fuck that shit. The next one, and this is something I think they could have very easily done in P3P. Don't make Makoto a mandatory man whore. Like, give people the option to reject the romance as Makoto. With Katana, you can already do this. But with a couple exceptions, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, let Makoto say no. Like, for instance, say someone just wants to romance Yukari. They should be able to say no to Chihiro and all the others. Like, think about it. In the original game, if you go for a full social link run, you end up dating Yukari, Mitsuru, Fuka, Aigis, Chihiro, Yuko, and Elizabeth. Okay, well, with Elizabeth, I think you actually can say no. But, like... Regardless, at least give people the option to say no. I don't understand why they didn't add that in P3P. That wouldn't have been the hardest thing to add. The next one, which kind of ties into what I said before, double down on Katone's bisexuality. Now, what I mean by this is I'm not saying have her be able to date all the girls, with the exception of maybe Sayori. This one's just personal, Atlas, please. But, joking aside, what I mean by this is, for those who don't know, as Katone, you can still technically date both Elizabeth if you choose to have her as your Velvet Pretendant and Aigis, but the romances are extremely toned down. Like, there's still, like, implications there, and as I've said before, I think the Aigis social link is, like, genuinely one of the best written examples of like a lesbian relationship in anything ever. I think it's so well written, the way Aigis like questions herself and all that stuff. It's so fucking well written. So double down on that, because the way these things work is they function the way romance, well, the Aigis one anyway, functions the way romance does in the male route, where you can't really say no to it. So, and another example is that in the male route, I believe Aigis literally says I love you at one point to the protagonist. She never does that in the female route, which, you know, you can kind of tell they were trying to tone it down. Throw that shit out the window. Just have it be have Aigis and Elizabeth function like actual romance options. Don't change their dialogue, except for like pronouns and shit, obviously. Just have them feel like actual romance. Have the ability to say no to both of them and also say yes. You know, have it function like a real romance, the way it would if you were dating like Akihiko or fucking... Who the fuck else is dateable in that game? I actually forget. Oh, Ryoji? I don't fucking know, man. No, not him. Shut the fuck up. And actually, you know what? Speaking of that, fucking get rid of the Ken romance. No, you know what? Yeah, no, fucking get rid of the Ken romance. Fuck this thing. I swear to God, like, I understand why they didn't get rid of it in the more recent port. Fair enough, it's just a port. But if you're remaking this game, get rid of this romance. Like, straight up, fucking remove it. This romance is fucked up. Get rid of it. So, when I looked up to get an image of Ken for the fucking thing before, this was one of the first images that came up. Yeah. As was this, actually. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Seriously, and also whenever you type... Oh, fuck, hold on. Whenever you type in Persona 3 Ken into a thing, like, one of the first things that comes up is romance. So, I am concerned for the Persona community. And you know what? While you're at it, maybe add a Junpei romance? Like, please? But have it so that you... But here's an idea. Have it so that you can only romance him prior to him meeting Chidori. And if you don't romance him before Chidori shows up, then he'll reject you no matter what. But if you romance him prior to Chidori showing up, then he'll say yes. There's an idea for you. I'm going to be honest, I just made that last one up on the spot. But, so yeah, those are my ideas. This video was like half an hour long. Holy fuck. So those are my ideas for a Persona 3 remake. Hopefully that made sense. As I say, I'm a rambly cunt. So half of the shit I said probably didn't make any sense. But you know, if you don't think I'm sure leave a like, leave a comment in the comment section below telling me what your guys' thoughts are on whether or not this rumor is real. And also what, you know, what you think of my points for what I'd like to see in the remake. And also what you would do, what you would like to see in a Persona 3 remake. Maybe things I didn't bring up. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.